Shut up and sit down.
Hello folks, Colin here, Festa 67's workshop, and welcome to part number 29 of Build 1967 Mustang Eleanor from the film Gone in 60 Seconds for the wonderful folks over at Fanhome. So if you'd like to build along with me, hit this link, head over to Fanhome, subscribe to this beautiful 1/8 scale part work, and you too can be building along with me. So in this kit, in this episode, we are going to be doing the left brake disc and the shock absorber for the car. So you've got your parts there in this episode are going to be the disc plate, shock absorber top pin, bottom mount, some brackets, a brake caliper, some pins and some screws, folks. Okay, so that's your parts list. We've got them all just on me left there off of shop, and then your step-by-step instructions are calling out for what you need to do. So you've got to do what we did before. We've got to put a pin through, so have your pliers to hand, which mine are just here, so we'll just grab them and get them ready. So we got those, and I've got non-serrated ones, so you don't put any marks on any of the pieces. Okay, so we'll just put them there nice and safe. And it's calling for you to start building up this bracket and putting it in the rear floor pan section we had on the last episode. So get that out, and this is where this pin alignment comes in, so you'll see exactly what we mean in this issue. It's then giving you the screws you need to fasten everything, which is down there. It's then calling out for the top mount to go in. That's the screw that you need for it, a PS 08. And then we start building up the rear brake disc assembly, getting that all together and popping that on the rear axle itself. And then that's what you're going to end up with when it's completed, a nice leaf spring rear disc, all ready for when we start doing the next issue. Okay, so we'll just pop that to one side so that we can see all our bits and pieces that we need for this issue. So let's grab them. There you go. Right, we got all of those bits open. That was fun, wrestling with my little plastic bags there. Right, first up, let's get the bracket. Let's get a pin with our shock absorber bottom mount. Let's run a sanding stick over that a minute. Yeah, didn't want that anyway. Right, we smoothed off the little nub down the bottom. Grab yourself your pin, and as you remember before in the last issue, I tend to put the pins in first because it's just easier for me with my grip. So let's just locate that in there, get that started, and then we can get the pliers on that and bring that pin through like that, and that just pops that in place then. And then I can use my screwdriver just to push that through a little bit to get that to bite in the bracket like that. Okay, that's what you're going to end up with. And then that's asking you to put that in, and then you're spinning it upside down and putting the screw in, folks. So we're going in here, right down in there is where we're going. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to pop that in with my pliers just to see if I can get that in place. It'll only go in one way, folks, so don't worry too much about alignment. It will only go in one way. And then it's calling for a PS05 screw just there. We'll put a little bit of oil on the end of the fret. Even though it's going into plastic, I still find that a little bit of oil does help it bite better. And then put your finger on the shock absorber so that when you spin it round it doesn't fall out. And then you're going in to this section here. That's where you're all putting your screw in. and you'll feel it start biting as soon as it starts turning. And just nip it up like that, okay? And then when you spin it over and release, your shock absorber is now held in place under there. That's what you want. You then want to get your top part and feed that in now into this section, just like that. And then rest your finger through and it will be coming up in there. See that bracket? That's where that eye bolt comes in. Okay, so that's what it's asking. So I'm just going to rest it like so whilst I grab me screw. We'll line that up with a screwdriver and we'll put little dabbykins of oil on the end of that. Think, just like so. And then we could try now to get this back over and hold it in place whilst I put my screw in. That's what we're going to try and do. It's a little bit fiddly, so bear with yourself. There you go. There you go. Just pinch it with your fingers, folks. It will go. This is just a little difficult to get into place at first, but look at that. It's gone straight in. Okay. So that's what you'll end up with, that diagonal shock absorber. Already you can see that coming together nicely. Look at that. Oh, does look good. So that's that in place. We now want to move over to 29.6, which is getting the brake disc parts together. So we've got our brake disc just here and our brake caliper. Now mine looks slightly different than the kit because I've gone ahead and modified it. If you want to see how this is done, go back in the channel and you'll see the brake disc modifications there. And I've gone through and I've drilled all the holes out, as you can see. See my hand behind it. I've drilled all the holes out and then repainted the discs. It just gives it for me a nice little effect. And then I've also sanded off the back part. I've cut out the notch as well. I've silvered this half, left this half dark, left it dark for a reason, because when the brake disc is on there, the holes are nice and dark now, see? Light, dark. Just gives it a nice little bit of an aesthetic. And also I've gone on and painted the caliper red and just weathered it up a little bit, folks. Okay, just my preference. Right, so this will go together and start being added to the rear section on here. So we want to spin that round. I'm going to be putting a little bit of glue on the axle, purely and simply on this bracket, just to hold the rear disc part in place. It's the standard Tamiya white cat glue, but obviously I don't really want it to move about. You've got two little diagonal pins just on here. They then locate in the holes diagonally on the back plate, like that. So that's how I want it to sit. And the only reason I've put the glue on there is it will retain it in place whilst I'm assembling the disc and popping the caliper on. Okay, so then the disc itself will just slide on the peg like so, and then your caliper, you've got these two little prongs. I've left the tips silver just so that you can see them, and that goes in this little cutout on the back here. I'll just point to it with a screwdriver. There's a little rectangular notch just there. See? And that's where the legs of that caliper will press into, folks. So I tend to put it on the disc. And the reason I've done this cutout is it lets the caliper sit in the cutout. Okay, so we'll have that in there. Let's just start lining that up with my left hand, just there, so that when we bring the disc in, that will then click into place just like that, and you heard the click. And that now is going to go nowhere because I've got that glue holding it in. Okay. But what that gives me is that gives me a nice dressed look on the rear brake assembly. See that? Just that little modification, cutting out your holes, and painting your caliper. Just brings a bit of colour to this rear end. Otherwise, for me, it would be all black, and I don't want that. So there you go. That is that section completed. Ka-ching. And it just gives you a nice look, and especially with that notch cut out the back there, because you can just see the back end of the brake disc spinning round. So there you go, folks. That is kit number 29, all completed. Rear caliper. Oh, have you some of that? So we're going to wrap this episode up for you. Remember, if you want to go and grab one of these, click this link below. Head over to Fanhome and grab yourself your very own Eleanor of your own. And then you can come and join me and build along with me in the next episode, folks. So until then, bye-bye for now. Stay safe. And I'm going to sit and do brake noises because I can. Bye-bye for now. Bye.